In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is indeed his messenger. I greet my brothers and sisters, family members, listeners and viewers in greeting words of peace. We say Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Welcome to FahjrShow TV. This is a spiritual series. I'm here with Sister Janet Aisha, a beautiful wife and consort, looking wonderful in, what would you call that? Lilac, mauve?
Purple.
Purple. See? Get there in the end. All praises due to Allah. Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Wa alaikum salam. I'd like to extend some greetings to sisters of the MGT, brothers of the FOI, and also Sister Jamila, who we went to the zoo with yesterday as well, and her children, Tahira and Amir. We had a lovely time, so all praises are due to Allah. Assalamu alaikum, family.
And you know, we live in a zoo. Generally, those of us who live in the cities,
As I speak for yourself.
especially if you live in sunny South London, it can be like a zoo sometime, you know. And it's interesting, they got a magazine called Zoo.
Yeah, they do.
In which they have all these scantily clad women. So they're portraying the women as animals to the men behaving like animals. So, yeah, we in a zoo, sister.
There was a documentary about that, about Zoo and Nuts, because
That's right.
there's two, and they were rivals.
They call them lads mags, right?
Yeah, that's right. And Zoo was the one that had a lot of women, like everyday women in, I think it was, and they had more black women in Zoo.
Did they?
And they had, more celebrities in Nuts, and so they were saying that I think Zoo was doing better.
They wanted the black women.
Yeah, and based on women, everyday women, normal looking women,
accessible women,
where men could have more access to them. That's right. So it was quite interesting that they had those two. And if you remember, brothers and sisters, a few years ago, do you remember when we were in WH Smith and Daniel was looking at it, but he was looking at it because they had football on the front of Zoo as well, and I had to tell him.
That's how they get the brothers.
Yeah, I had to tell him to not even bother look at that, because if you want to see football, then go and have a look at a football magazine. But the zoo is not the place for football. It's not.
That's how they reel you in.
And nor is it the place for women either. So,
that's right.
You know, each of us have a responsibility. We can condemn the makers of the magazine, the sponsor of the magazine, but also the models who are modelling inside the magazine. Each of us have a responsibility to not, and even the buyers.
That's right.
You know, everyone has a responsibility not to involve themselves in stuff like that.
It's like that statement of usury.
Yeah.
Everyone who has a hand in it has a hand in the punishment, in the chastisement of it.
Yeah.
So the readers, the sellers, the distributors, the manufacturers, the writers, the photographers, the models, everybody, this whole house that Shaitan has made, you know, as a responsibility and a share in the chastisement. And one more thing about that, it's interesting that, you know, the women that they display who are showing their breasts, they describe them as boobs. And we know a boob is a mistake. There ain't no mistake in Allah God's house.
Yeah.
But it's a mistake when you're portraying yourself in that way, sister. So that is the boob, I reckon. These are just some of the things that we've touched on coming up to this point, yeah? When we reach 75% dissatisfaction with our pitiful existence in this world, our interest rate in doing for self begins to rapidly grow. That is the subject of status. That's the status that you need to be at. 75% dissatisfaction, we're taught, brings about change. Yeah? At that point, it is time for us to accept our own and be ourselves. And we can welcome one another into the original Asiatic building society. That's our building society. Allah God's building society. Yeah? In mathematical language, black represents Allah God, in that black is first. Black is not a skin colour, as we sometimes are led to believe. It is the mother of all colour. If you look at my skin, it's not black. It may be very dark, but it's not black. You know, I've yet to see somebody who's actually black in physical blackness. So that's another one of those terms that can be used in two ways. But really, if we really look at it, black represents Allah out of triple darkness
And truth,
and truth, out of the original essence of himself. That's what the black is. And when we talk about being black people, we mean the people of God. That's what we mean. So when we talk about a black building society, we mean one that is God-centric and one that is God-focused, as opposed to, as you said, the H-bosses and the Halifaxes and the AIGs and all those who are falling today. What Allah God has to offer, brothers and sisters, is the ultimate in investment banking. What the world gives us is skanking on the banking. And that's what we touched on last week. Skanking on the banking, in that we're gesturing, as we would say, as my mother would say. You're a jester, you know. We're playing with something which is very crucial to our growth and development. Banking, you know. We're spending our time dancing, skanking. We're spending our time stealing a hearing, stealing our way into Massa's house, thinking that we're going to get something. Skanking is also stealing. So this is something that we were saying as well last week. Yeah. So this week, the topic is whose house? Question mark. Whose house? Because as you said, before our very eyes, we see the world of banking falling. So we have to ask the question, whose house are we in? Whose house is it that we want to be a part of, that we want to help to build? Is it the world of banking that's in crisis and falling today? The Freddie Macs, the Fannie Maes, the Lehman Brothers, the Northern Rocks, the AIG, the H-Boss, the Halifax, the world in trouble, the Barclays.
To name a few.
To name a few, which I have written down here on my notes. And I'm sure there'll be a few more.
Yeah.
You know? So, brothers and sisters, whose house are we in? No matter how hard we work, or slave, or dance, or toe down, or sell out, or sell up, or kill, or deliver for our oppressor, we will never achieve equality of status with him or her. And the question is, why do we even want to? There's so many times I see our brothers and sisters really, as we said, bending ourselves out of shape to try and get some kind of equality level down to the same standard with people who oppress us.
But isn't that what we've actually been taught to do, what we've been programmed to do, you know, subconsciously or subliminally, you know, whether we realise it or not, via the TV, film, schools even. I remember when I was at school, you know, and we would have careers advice, or they would talk about what you would want to go on and do, and there would be specific places or specific areas that they would guide us into, and you'd be steered away from some, you know, that it may seem unrealistic. However, they're only unrealistic based on the education that we've got in the school that we're in. Because I know that some schools are feeder schools for, I don't know, the local comprehensive down the road, or the local state school down the road, and others are feeder schools for Oxford. You know, so they're all part of a chain and steps in a chain.
So you have to be in the right chain, in the right
That's
stream.
right. You had to be in the right stream.
And how did you get in that stream?
Exactly, in order to be able to be to benefit from what they want. So the majority of us, you know, who went to the same local schools that we went to, we were all trained to be fodder, and that's our life. We're fodder. You know, that's what we're there for. We're there to be part of just a general workforce.
To grease
no
the
more,
machine.
No less.
Is that where the term grease monkey came from? Grease the machines of industry. Grease the cogs to make it run smoothly, but not actually, you know, get into a position where you can wedge something in the cogs.
And those